Tease's Myron Golden. Listen to me, the greatest battle you will ever fight is not against other people, not against circumstances, not against what's in your bank account, but against what's happening between your ears. Your mind is either your prison or your passport. Negativity is not just a thought, it's a thief. It steals your peace, your energy, and your future. But today, you're going to learn how to take authority over your own mind, because the life you're dreaming of will only become reality when you stop letting negative thinking run the show. Your mind is the control center of your life. Every action you take, every word you speak, and every decision you make is influenced by the thoughts that run through your head. If you don't control your thoughts will control you. Negative thinking is like an intruder that slips into your mind unnoticed. But before you know it, it has rearranged the furniture and locked the doors. That's why it's not enough to simply hope for positive thoughts to show up. You have to actively seize every thought the moment it enters your mind and decide whether it stays or goes. The reality is that your thoughts don't just reflect your life, they direct it. If you constantly allow fear, doubt, and insecurity to roam freely in your mind, they will shape your perspective and influence your actions, leading you toward the very outcomes you don't want. Taking every thought captive means refusing to be a passive participant in your own thinking. It's about becoming a watchman over your mental state, filtering every idea, every suggestion, and every belief through the lens of truth and purpose before it takes root in your spirit. Think about it like this. Your mind is a garden. If you leave a garden unattended, weeds will grow, and they won't just stay small. They'll multiply and take over everything beautiful you planted. Negative thoughts are weeds. They might seem harmless at first, but if left alone, they'll choke out your dreams, your confidence, and your joy. Capturing your thoughts is like gardening daily. You have to pull out the weeds of fear, shame, and negativity as soon as they pop up. You don't wait until they become overwhelming. You handle them immediately before they gain power over your life. This is not an easy process because your mind has patterns that have been built over years. Maybe you grew up hearing negative words. Maybe you've failed in the past, and those failures have left mental scars. Maybe the world around you constantly pushes doubt and discouragement into your ears. But here's the truth. You are not a prisoner to your past patterns. You have the power to rewrite your thinking. Every time you stop a negative thought in its tracks and replace it with something life-giving, you are reprogramming your mind. Over time, this becomes a habit that transforms your entire outlook on life. Taking thoughts captive requires awareness. You have to learn to pay attention to your inner dialogue. So many people allow their thoughts to run wild without even realizing it. They wake up thinking they're not enough. They go through the day believing they'll never succeed, and they go to bed rehearsing all their mistakes. This cycle creates a prison of negativity. But when you become conscious of your thoughts, you give yourself the power to break the cycle. You can stop and say, no, that's not true, and intentionally replace that lie with truth. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. This also means you have to speak out loud what you choose to believe. Thoughts gain power when you give them your agreement, but they lose power when you confront them with truth. When a thought says, you're not capable, you counter it with, I am fully equipped to handle every challenge I face. When fear says, you'll fail again, you respond, a failure is a stepping stone to success, and I'm not afraid to try. The more you speak life over yourself, the more you train your mind to reject negativity and embrace strength. Words are weapons, and you must use them to guard your thoughts. Another key to taking thoughts captive is slowing down and questioning what enters your mind. Not every thought deserves your attention, and not every idea that crosses your mind is true. Just because a thought appears doesn't mean it belongs to you. Learn to challenge the voice of doubt. Ask yourself, where did this thought come from? Does it align with my goals and values? Does it reflect the person I want to become? This simple practice of questioning your thoughts helps you separate truth from lies, wisdom from fear, and vision from distraction. You also have to be intentional about filling your mind with the right things, because an empty mind is an easy target for negativity. When you don't actively choose what to think, your mind will naturally gravitate toward worry, fear, and worst case scenarios. Instead, saturate your thoughts with wisdom, gratitude, and inspiration. Read uplifting books, listen to empowering messages, and spend time around people who speak life. The more positive input you give your mind, the easier it becomes to reject negative thinking. A well-fed mind doesn't crave junk. Taking thoughts captive is a daily discipline, not a one-time decision. You will never reach a point where negative thoughts completely disappear, but you can get to a place where they no longer control you. It's like building muscle in a gym. The more you train your mind to reject negativity, the stronger you become at spotting it quickly and shutting it down. Over time, you'll notice that you recover from discouragement faster, you handle challenges with more confidence, and you walk through life with a renewed sense of peace and focus. Ultimately, this is about reclaiming your mental authority. Too many people live their entire lives being bullied by their own thoughts. But when you decide that your mind will no longer be a playground for fear and doubt, you begin to step into the life you were created to live. You take back control of your emotions, your decisions, and your destiny. Every thought you capture and replace is another step toward freedom, strength, and victory in every area of your life. Your mind is like a sponge, constantly absorbing information, energy, and influence from everything around you. What you allow into your mind will eventually shape the direction of your life. Every conversation you have, every piece of content you consume, every song you listen to, every book you read, these things don't just pass through you, they leave an imprint. If you constantly take in negativity, doubt, fear, or gossip, it will poison your thoughts and weaken your confidence. But when you guard your input, when you carefully choose what enters your heart and mind, you create an environment where growth, vision, and courage thrive. Most people underestimate the power of their environment. They assume their mood and mindset are random, when in reality, they are often the result of what they've been feeding themselves mentally. If you spend hours scrolling through content filled with division, drama, and fear, don't be surprised when you start feeling anxious or hopeless. If you surround yourself with people who constantly complain and criticize, don't be shocked when you find yourself doing the same. The truth is, your mind is like fertile soil, and whatever you plant in it, good or bad, will eventually grow. That's why being intentional about what you allow in is not optional, it's essential. The conversations you engage in every day play a massive role in shaping your thoughts. Words are seeds, and people will try to plant seeds in your mind through their opinions, their beliefs, and their attitudes. If you're not careful, you'll find yourself carrying other people's fears, failures, and doubts without even realizing it. That's why you must learn to set boundaries with your relationships. You can love people without letting their negativity control your atmosphere. Sometimes guarding your input means walking away from conversations that drain your energy or even distancing yourself from people who refuse to grow. It's not about being rude, it's about protecting your peace. In the same way that toxic relationships can pollute your thinking, so can the media you consume. Television shows, movies, news, podcasts, social media feeds. These are all doorways into your mind. If you're not careful, they can become channels for fear, comparison, and distraction. It's easy to underestimate their influence because you might think it's just entertainment. But what you watch and listen to repeatedly becomes familiar, and what's familiar becomes acceptable. Over time, your standards drop and your mindset shifts to match what you consume. That's why guarding your input requires you to evaluate not just how much media you're consuming, but also the quality of it. Guarding your input also means feeding your mind intentionally with things that align with your values and goals. If you want to grow in faith, read scriptures or spiritual content that uplifts your spirit. If you want to build wealth, study financial wisdom and surround yourself with successful mentors. If you want to be healthier, fill your mind with knowledge and inspiration about health and wellness. You can't expect a harvest in your life if you're not planting the right seeds in your mind. Intentional consumption builds intentional living. Another area to be mindful of is your inner circle. The people closest to you have the greatest influence over your mindset, often more than you realize. You don't need 100 friends. You need a few solid people who challenge you to grow, who remind you of your worth, and who speak life over you. If your closest relationships are filled with negativity, criticism, and fear, your mind will absorb those voices as truth. Guarding your input might mean seeking out mentors, joining groups of like-minded individuals, or building connections with people who are pursuing excellence. You rise to the level of your circle, so choose wisely. Your input also affects your self-talk, because what you consume externally eventually becomes the voice you hear internally. If you feed your mind with discouragement, the voice in your head will echo that discouragement. But if you surround yourself with uplifting content and empowering voices, your internal dialogue begins to change. Your thoughts become aligned with faith, confidence, and purpose. This is why guarding your input is not just about avoiding the wrong things. It's about flooding your mind with the right things until they become your natural way of thinking. Sometimes, guarding your input requires making bold choices. It might mean deleting certain apps from your phone to stop mindless scrolling. It could mean cutting back on entertainment that glorifies values you don't believe in. It might mean leaving a toxic job environment or stepping away from a friendship that's pulling you down. These decisions are not easy, but they are necessary if you want to create a life of purpose and peace. Protecting your mental environment is just as important as protecting your physical health. Just like you wouldn't drink poison and expect to stay healthy, you can't consume mental poison and expect to think clearly. Think of your mind like a fortress. Everyday thoughts and ideas try to enter, and it's your responsibility to decide who gets in. You are the gatekeeper of your mind, and you must take that role seriously. If you let your guard down, negativity will slip in unnoticed and begin to influence your emotions, decisions, and future. But if you stay alert and intentional, you can create a mental environment where hope, faith, and creativity flourish. Your future depends on your ability to guard your input, because what you allow and will always come out in your actions and your results. Guarding your input also requires discipline. It's not just a one-time decision, it's a lifestyle. You don't just choose once to avoid negativity. You choose every day to feed your mind with content, conversations, and influences that build you up. This discipline becomes a habit, and over time, it reshapes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances and start seeing yourself as someone who has the power to create change. Your mind becomes your greatest asset, and it begins to work for you instead of against you, helping you achieve your goals and live with confidence. The words you speak are not just sounds that vanish into the air. They are seeds that take root in your life. Every time you open your mouth, you are either building yourself up or tearing yourself down. What you repeatedly say becomes what you eventually believe, and what you believe dictates how you live. Most people are not aware of the power their words carry, so they speak carelessly and wonder why their lives feel stuck. Speaking life over yourself daily is not about empty affirmations or wishful thinking. It's about intentionally declaring truth that aligns with your vision and values, even when your circumstances don't reflect it yet. The way you talk to yourself sets the tone for your entire day. If you wake up in the morning and your first words are filled with dread, negativity, or self-criticism, you are already programming your mind to operate from a place of defeat. But when you begin your day with words of gratitude, strength, and expectation, you shift your entire mental and emotional state. Speaking life over yourself daily is like giving your mind a compass that points you in the right direction, regardless of what challenges you might face. It's an act of taking control of your atmosphere before your atmosphere takes control of you. Your words shape your identity, and your identity shapes your destiny. If you constantly say things like, "I'm so unlucky, I'll never succeed," or "I'm not smart enough," you're programming your subconscious mind to accept those statements as truth. Eventually, your actions will align with what you've been speaking, and you'll find yourself living out the very limitations you declared. But when you intentionally speak life over yourself, you start creating a new narrative. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of life circumstances, but as a person with purpose, potential, and power. Over time, your words will rewire your belief system, which will reshape your life. Many people underestimate how deeply their words affect their emotions. The way you speak about yourself and your life creates either an atmosphere of hope or despair. Speaking life over yourself is like speaking light into a dark room. When challenges feel overwhelming, your words become the weapon that fights back against fear and discouragement. Saying things like, "I have everything I need to overcome this," or "I am stronger than what I'm facing," might feel strange at first, but the more you declare it, the more your emotions begin to align with those statements. What you say consistently eventually becomes what you feel consistently. Another powerful aspect of speaking life over yourself is that your words create vision. What you declare daily acts like a blueprint for your future. If you want to live a life of abundance, you have to speak words of abundance, not lack. If you want to walk in confidence, you have to speak words of confidence, not insecurity. Vision is built with language, and every time you speak, you are either reinforcing your current reality or paving the way for a new one. This is why it's crucial to be intentional and strategic with the words you allow to come out of your mouth. Speaking life over yourself is also about breaking cycles of negativity that may have been spoken over you by others. Maybe you grew up hearing words that tore you down. Maybe someone told you that you'd never amount to anything or that you weren't capable of success. Those words planted seeds in your mind, and now they echo in your thoughts as if they are truth. But you have the power to uproot those lies by consistently speaking truth over yourself. Every time you say, I am worthy, I am capable, or I am chosen, you are dismantling the false narratives that have been holding you back. The practice of speaking life over yourself isn't just for moments when you feel strong. It's especially necessary in moments when you feel weak. Those are the times when your words become a lifeline. Even when your feelings don't match your declarations, speaking life is an act of faith in your potential and your purpose. It's about deciding that your words will lead your emotions rather than your emotions leading your words. Over time, this discipline creates mental toughness and resilience. Instead of letting your circumstances dictate your speech begins to dictate your response to your circumstances. Your words don't just affect you, they also influence the people around you. When you speak life over yourself, it spills over into the way you speak to others. A person who is constantly building themselves up with truth and positivity naturally encourages those in their environment. This creates a ripple effect, strengthening not only your own mindset, but also the atmosphere of your home, your workplace, and your relationships. Speaking life over yourself is an investment not just in your own growth, but in the growth of everyone connected to you. Daily declarations of life are also a form of self-leadership. Leaders understand that they must control their narrative if they want to influence their reality. When you make speaking life over yourself a daily habit, you are taking ownership of your mind and your future. This practice transforms you into a person who leads themselves first before expecting to lead anyone else. The consistency of declaring life, giving words over your mind and spirit builds character, confidence, and clarity, making it easier for you to navigate life's challenges with purpose and determination. Speaking life over yourself daily is an act of alignment. It aligns your words with your beliefs with your actions, and your actions with your destiny. The more intentional you are about the words you speak, the more your life begins to reflect the vision you hold in your heart. Your words are not powerless. They are tools that shape reality. By choosing them carefully and declaring them consistently, you are actively creating the life you desire rather than passively accepting the life you've been given. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces that can completely reshape your perspective on life. When you practice gratitude intentionally, you start to see the same world differently. The challenges don't disappear, but your ability to handle them changes. Gratitude is like a lens you put on that sharpens your focus, not on what's missing, but on what's already present. It shifts your attention away from complaints and trains your mind to find blessings even in the midst of difficulties. This shift isn't automatic, it takes practice, and the more you practice, the more natural it becomes to see your life through the filter of appreciation instead of frustration. Most people live their lives waiting for something big to happen before they feel grateful. But gratitude is not about waiting for extraordinary events. It's about recognizing the extraordinary in the ordinary. A sunrise, a roof over your head, a meal on your table, the ability to breathe, to think, to move. These are gifts that many overlook. When you train yourself to acknowledge these things daily, you reprogram your mind to see abundance instead of lack. Gratitude is not reserved for special moments. It's a daily habit that helps you see that even in tough times, you are surrounded by blessings. Gratitude also has the power to rewire your brain. Neuroscience has shown that focusing on gratitude activates areas of the brain associated with happiness, emotional balance, and decision making. When you consistently practice gratitude, your brain begins to create new neural pathways that make it easier to access positive emotions and harder for negativity to dominate. This means gratitude isn't just a feel-good idea, it's a mental exercise that literally strengthens your ability to stay positive. Over time, your brain learns to default to appreciation rather than complaint, and that shift influences every area of your life. One of the most effective ways to practice gratitude is through writing. Keeping a gratitude journal forces you to slow down and reflect on the blessings you might otherwise overlook. Every day, writing down 3 to 5 things you are grateful for helps you develop the habit of noticing what's good, even on days that feel heavy. Over time, this journal becomes a powerful reminder of how far you've come and how much you've been given. It shifts your focus from what you lack to what you already possess, and this shift naturally breeds contentment and joy. Gratitude also changes the way you see challenges. When you cultivate gratitude, you don't just see problems. You see opportunities hidden within those problems. A setback becomes a lesson. A closed door becomes protection. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring pain. It means learning to find value in every experience. This mindset makes you more resilient because you stop viewing difficulties as punishment and start seeing them as stepping stones. The ability to find something to be thankful for, even in adversity, is what separates people who grow from those who get stuck. Practicing gratitude also transforms your relationships. When you make it a habit to express appreciation for the people in your life, those relationships deepen and strengthen. Gratitude builds trust, connection, and respect. It reminds people of their value and encourages them to show up with the same positive energy you're giving. Relationships thrive in an atmosphere of gratitude because it creates a cycle of encouragement. The more thankful you are, the more kindness and support you tend to attract. Gratitude doesn't just improve your inner world, it also changes the way others experience being around you. Another aspect of gratitude is speaking it out loud. Don't just feel grateful, say it. Tell someone you appreciate them. Speak out loud that you're thankful for your health, your opportunities, or even your challenges. Words have power, and when you verbalize your gratitude, it reinforces that feeling in your heart and mind. Speaking gratitude makes it more real and solidifies it in your subconscious. It's not enough to think about gratitude. You have to express it if you want it to become a core part of who you are. Gratitude also helps you escape the trap of comparison. In a world where social media constantly bombards us with images of what others have, it's easy to feel like you're not enough. Gratitude shifts your focus from what others are doing to what you already have. Instead of being envious of someone else's success, you learn to celebrate it while still being thankful for your own journey. Gratitude eliminates scarcity thinking and replaces it with a mindset of abundance, reminding you that there's enough opportunity and blessing for everyone. When gratitude becomes your default setting, it also affects your physical health. Studies have shown that grateful people sleep better, experience lower levels of stress, and even have stronger immune systems. Gratitude calms your nervous system and helps your body function at its best. This is because gratitude reduces negative emotions like fear and anxiety, which often create tension and stress in the body. Practicing gratitude daily is not just a mental or emotional exercise, it's a holistic practice that impacts your mind, body, and spirit. Gratitude takes intentionality. You don't just wake up one day with a grateful heart. You build it through consistent practice. You make a choice every morning to focus on what's right instead of what's wrong, on what's present instead of what's missing. The more you do it, the more it becomes second nature, and eventually you stop having to remind yourself to be grateful because your mind automatically searches for things to appreciate. Gratitude becomes part of your identity, and that identity changes how you think, how you act, and how you experience the world. Your mind is your greatest asset, but it is also the most dangerous weapon you'll ever carry if you don't know how to use it. A warrior doesn't step onto the battlefield without training, strategy, and preparation, and neither should you step into life without equipping your mind. The battles you face are not only external but internal. Before you win against challenges, setbacks, or opposition, you must first win in your mind. Training your mind like a warrior means developing a level of mental discipline that allows you to remain focused, resilient, and determined no matter what life throws your way. It's about refusing to be controlled by fear, emotions, and our circumstances, and instead choosing to control your responses with intention and strength. Mental training starts with focus. A warrior cannot afford distraction, and neither can you. Your mind will try to wander. Your emotions will attempt to pull you in every direction, and the world around you will bombard you with noise. Without focus, you'll waste your energy on things that don't move you forward. Training your mind begins with deciding what deserves your attention and cutting out everything that doesn't serve your growth. This kind of focus is not developed overnight. It's built through consistent practice, saying no to distractions and yes to what aligns with your vision. Discipline is another core element of mental strength. A warrior doesn't rely on feelings to determine action. They rely on discipline to follow through no matter how they feel. Training your mind means learning to take control of your thoughts and decisions even when you feel tired, discouraged, or afraid. Most people are slaves to their emotions, reacting impulsively and giving up when things get hard. But mental warriors operate differently. They train themselves to keep moving forward regardless of how they feel, building a mindset that refuses to quit when things get uncomfortable. Discipline creates consistency, and consistency creates results. Mental toughness also comes from embracing discomfort. A warrior doesn't shy away from difficult training. They seek it out because they know it makes them stronger. Likewise, your mind will only grow if you push it beyond its comfort zone. This could mean challenging yourself to think differently, learning new skills, or confronting fears that have held you back for years. Growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. It happens when you intentionally put yourself in situations that require courage and adaptation. Training your mind like a warrior means welcoming challenge as a tool for transformation. Another key part of mental training is mastering your thoughts. Your mind produces thousands of thoughts a day, and without discipline, those thoughts will run wild. A warrior doesn't allow every voice in their head to dictate their decisions. You must learn to filter your thoughts, separate truth from lies, and choose what you will allow to influence your actions. This kind of mastery takes practice. It means catching negative thoughts before they spiral, replacing them with empowering beliefs, and rehearsing truth until it becomes second nature. Over time, this mental discipline builds confidence and clarity, allowing you to remain steady no matter the chaos around you. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools a warrior uses to prepare for battle, and you can use it to prepare your mind for success. When you train your mind, you create a clear mental picture of the outcome you desire, and you rehearse it in your imagination until it feels real. Athletes, soldiers, And top performers all use this technique because the mind doesn't fully distinguish between vivid visualization and reality. By consistently picturing yourself overcoming obstacles, achieving goals, and staying strong under pressure, you condition your brain to expect success. Visualization programs your subconscious to look for solutions and opportunities instead of problems. Training your mind also requires emotional control. A warrior cannot afford to lose control of their emotions in the heat of battle. And you cannot afford to let fear, anger, or doubt dictate your actions. Emotional mastery doesn't mean ignoring your feelings. It means acknowledging them without letting them control you. This requires self-awareness and practice. When something triggers you, instead of reacting impulsively, you pause, breathe, and choose your response intentionally. Over time, you develop the ability to remain calm under pressure, which gives you a tremendous advantage in any situation. Emotional control is one of the highest forms of mental strength. Mental warriors also train themselves to endure. Life will not always go according to plan, and setbacks are inevitable. What separates those who succeed from those who fail is the ability to keep going when things get hard. Training your mind to endure means preparing yourself mentally for resistance and choosing to push through anyway. It's about adopting a mindset that sees obstacles as temporary and struggles as stepping stones. The ability to endure is not a natural trait. It is a skill that is built every time you refuse to quit when it would have been easier to give up. Another part of training your mind like a warrior is developing self-control over your habits. What you do daily is a reflection